I'm so glad you found your way here. Welcome to Get Sleepy Science. Your brain is processing stress hormones right now while you rest, deciding what to hold, what to release, and what to transform into something peaceful. You'll discover why holiday stress keeps you awake and understand how your mind knows exactly how to find rest again. Wherever you are right now, perhaps feeling that familiar tension from holiday preparations, or simply noticing your thoughts circling like distant lights, allow yourself this gentle moment. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about stress and sleep, from the chemistry that keeps minds alert during festive chaos, to patterns your body remembers from ancient winters, to the bridge between worry and the rest you're seeking. This journey was meant to dim like a candle's flame, continuous, unbroken, gentle. We're building toward a premium, uninterrupted experience, where every moment can be intentionally designed for your deepest rest. Your gentle support, a like, a subscribe, a quiet share, brings us closer to creating this protected sanctuary for every tired mind who finds their way here. One peaceful night, one sleepy soul at a time. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness, thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. Holiday stress disrupts sleep through a cascade of biological responses that evolved millions of years ago. When your brain perceives the holidays as stressful, whether from family dynamics, financial pressure, or scheduling chaos, it activates your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, commonly called the HPA axis. This ancient survival system doesn't distinguish between a genuine threat and the stress of finding the perfect gift or hosting dinner for 12 people. According to 2024 research from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, nearly 74% of Americans report disrupted sleep due to stress, with holiday periods showing particular vulnerability. Your body treats holiday pressure the same way it would treat danger, flooding your system with alertness, hormones that make sleep feel impossible, even when you're exhausted. The HPA axis operates like a sophisticated alarm system in your brain. It begins in a small region called the paraventricular nucleus of your hypothalamus, deep in the center of your brain. When this area detects stress, even the thought of tomorrow's holiday gathering, it releases corticotropin-releasing hormone, or CRH. This chemical messenger travels a short distance to your pituitary gland, which then releases adrenocorticotropic hormone into your bloodstream. Within minutes, this hormone reaches your adrenal glands, sitting atop your kidneys, instructing them to produce cortisol. Recent 2025 studies published in the American Journal of Medicine show this entire cascade can activate within 5 to 7 minutes of perceiving stress, transforming your internal chemistry from restful to vigilant, faster than you can wrap a present. Cortisol, often called the stress hormone, serves many essential functions beyond managing stress. In healthy patterns, your cortisol levels follow a predictable daily rhythm. They peak about 30 to 40 minutes after you wake up, a phenomenon researchers call the cortisol awakening response. Throughout the day, levels gradually decline, reaching their lowest point around midnight, which naturally prepares your body for sleep. However, holiday stress disrupts this ancient rhythm. Research from 2024 shows that chronic stress can elevate evening cortisol levels by up to 23%. Particularly during high-stress periods like the holiday season. When cortisol remains elevated at night, it blocks the production of melatonin, your sleep hormone, creating a biochemical barrier between you and the rest you desperately need. Your sleep drive and your stress response exist in a delicate balance, managed by opposing chemical systems. Sleep pressure builds through a molecule called adenosine, which accumulates in your brain with each hour you're awake. Normally, by evening, enough adenosine has built up to make you feel drowsy, but cortisol counteracts this process. According to 2024 research in the journal Sleep, elevated pre-sleep cortisol levels predict shorter total sleep time and lower sleep efficiency. The stress hormone essentially tells your brain that now is not the time to rest. There's danger present. You need to stay alert. This creates a frustrating paradox. The more stressed and tired you become, the harder it is to actually fall asleep. The relationship between stress and sleep functions as a bidirectional loop, each affecting the other in ways that can spiral. Poor sleep quality increases cortisol levels the following day, and elevated cortisol disrupts that night's sleep, creating a cycle that researchers call the stress-sleep feedback loop. A comprehensive 2024 study, tracking 95 young adults over 15 days, found that pre-sleep cortisol levels directly predicted how long it took to fall asleep and how often people woke during the night. More concerning, sleep deprivation increased next-day cortisol by 23% and changed the normal cortisol rhythm, making it peak later and decline more slowly. During the holidays, when you're already sleeping less due to late parties and early shopping trips, this biochemical loop can quickly become self-reinforcing. Financial stress ranks as the most commonly reported holiday stressor, affecting how millions of people sleep each December. The American Psychiatric Association's 2024 Holiday Mental Health Poll found that 25% of Americans report feeling more stressed during holidays than any other time of year, with affording gifts and meals consistently ranking as top concerns. Financial worry activates your HPA axis particularly strongly because your brain evolved to treat resource scarcity as a survival threat. When you lie awake calculating whether you can afford all the expected gifts, your stress response doesn't recognize the difference between genuine resource scarcity and modern financial pressure. Your body simply registers. Resources threatened, stay alert, don't sleep. Holiday sleep disruption affects women more significantly than men, though the reasons remain complex and multifaceted. Sleep research consistently shows that women report higher rates of insomnia and sleep disturbances during stressful periods, including holidays. 2024 data indicates women are more likely to experience holiday-related sleep deprivation, potentially due to what researchers identify as biological factors, including hormonal fluctuations, and how estrogen interacts with cortisol, and psychosocial factors such as traditional gender roles that place more holiday planning, cooking, and emotional labor on women. Women also show stronger cortisol responses to social rejection and interpersonal stress, which holidays often amplify. The combination creates a perfect storm: more stress exposure, stronger stress reactions, and greater sleep disruption. Social obligations multiply during holidays, creating a specific type of stress that researchers call social overload. According to 2024 studies, the sheer number of social commitments, parties, gatherings, family visits, shopping trips with friends can overwhelm your brain's social processing capacity. Human beings evolved to maintain stable relationships with roughly 150 people, what anthropologists call Dunbar's number. Modern holidays compress interactions with dozens of people into weeks or days, overwhelming the social processing capacity our brains evolved to handle. This intense social density forces your brain to continuously process numerous relationships, remember complex histories, and navigate competing social dynamics simultaneously. This intense social processing continues even after interactions end, keeping your mind active when you try to sleep. replaying conversations, anticipating tomorrow's gathering. The anticipatory stress of upcoming holiday events can disrupt sleep more powerfully than the events themselves. Your brain possesses a remarkable capacity for mental time travel, imagining and pre-experiencing future scenarios. While this ability helps you plan and prepare, it also means you can experience the stress of Christmas dinner days before it actually happens. Research on anticipatory anxiety shows that worrying about future stressors activates the same HPA axis response as experiencing those stressors directly. When you lie awake mentally rehearsing conversations with difficult relatives or calculating whether you have enough chairs for everyone, your body releases real cortisol in response to imagined problems, creating genuine sleep disruption from events that haven't even occurred yet. Sleep loss creates something researchers call sleep debt, a cumulative deficit that builds night after night of insufficient rest. During typical holiday seasons, people lose an average of 30 minutes of sleep per night compared to non-holiday periods, according to 2024 sleep tracking data. This might seem insignificant, just 30 minutes, but over 2 weeks of holiday celebration that accumulates to 7 hours of lost sleep, nearly a full night's rest. Your brain cannot fully compensate for this loss, even with occasional longer sleep. The cognitive and emotional effects compound. Decision-making deteriorates, emotional regulation weakens, and stress responses intensify. So the holiday stress disrupting your sleep also makes you less capable of handling that stress, creating another reinforcing loop. Your sleep architecture changes under stress, with particularly significant alterations to REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreaming occurs and emotional processing takes place. Studies using EEG to measure brain waves during sleep show that stress reduces time spent in REM sleep by up to 25% and fragments what REM sleep does occur. This matters profoundly because REM sleep serves as your brain's emotional regulation system, processing difficult feelings and consolidating memories with appropriate emotional weight. Without adequate REM sleep, emotional events from the day, a tense conversation with your mother-in-law, financial anxiety about gift expenses, disappointment about cancelled plans, remain unprocessed, carrying their full emotional charge into the next day. The holiday stress that disrupts your sleep also prevents your brain from properly processing that very stress. The physical environment during holidays often changes in ways that disrupt sleep, even beyond stress itself. Staying as a guest in someone's home, a common holiday experience, affects sleep for 60% of guests and 56% of hosts, according to 2024 survey data. Unfamiliar beds, different room temperatures, novel sounds, changed lighting patterns, and disrupted bedtime routines all interfere with sleep initiation and maintenance. Your brain contains a built-in first-night effect that causes lighter, more fragmented sleep in new environments, an evolutionary adaptation that kept our ancestors alert to potential dangers in unfamiliar places. During holidays, when you might spend several nights away from home, this adaptation works against you, making it harder to find rest precisely when you need it most. Alcohol consumption increases notably during holiday celebrations, creating its own specific pattern of sleep disruption. About 32% of Americans report drinking more alcohol during holidays. And while alcohol initially makes you feel drowsy, it's a central nervous system depressant. It significantly impairs sleep quality, particularly in the second half of the night. As your liver metabolizes alcohol, usually 3 to 4 hours after drinking, withdrawal effects begin. Increased heart rate, activation of your stress response, and disrupted sleep architecture. Research shows alcohol reduces REM sleep, increases sleep fragmentation, and can trigger or worsen sleep apnea. The holiday toast or nightcap that seems to help you relax actually ensures the sleep you do get will be less restorative, leaving you more vulnerable to next day's stress. Meal timing and composition shift dramatically during holidays, disrupting your circadian rhythm in ways most people never consider. Your body maintains multiple internal clocks, not just the master clock in your brain, but also peripheral clocks in your digestive organs, liver, and fat tissues. These clocks synchronize with your eating patterns, anticipating when food will arrive. During holidays, late dinners, irregular meal times, and rich, heavy foods confuse these peripheral clocks. Research shows that eating within 3 hours of bedtime, particularly meals high in fat and sugar, delays sleep onset by 20 to 40 minutes and reduces sleep quality. Your digestive system diverts blood flow and energy to process that heavy meal, elevating body temperature and metabolic activity precisely when both should be declining for sleep. Holiday-related travel disrupts sleep through multiple mechanisms, from jet lag to disrupted routines, to the stress of navigation and schedules. Over 54% of people travel during holidays, and 77% report impacted sleep when staying in others' homes. Beyond the first night effect mentioned earlier, travel stress includes hypervigilance about departure times, anxiety about delays, physical discomfort during long car rides or flights, and the cognitive load of navigating unfamiliar places. Jet lag, which affects about 93% of travelers crossing more than 2 time zones, disrupts your circadian rhythm by desynchronizing your internal clock from external time cues, creating a biological mismatch between when your body expects sleep and when your location's time demands wakefulness. The pressure to experience joy, gratitude, and connection during holidays creates a paradoxical stress that researchers call compulsory happiness. Our culture mandates that holidays should be the happiest time of year, creating implicit expectations for constant positive emotions. When reality falls short, when you feel anxious, lonely, sad, or stressed despite the festivities, this emotional discrepancy itself becomes another source of stress. You judge yourself for not feeling how you should feel, adding guilt and self-criticism to your existing stress load. Research on emotional suppression shows that trying to force positive emotions or suppress authentic negative feelings actually increases physiological stress markers, including cortisol, which compounds sleep disruption. The pressure to seem happy becomes another reason you can't sleep peacefully. Shortened daylight hours during winter holidays affect sleep through mechanisms independent of stress, though they often interact with holiday pressure. Seasonal affective disorder affects approximately 5% of American adults, with symptoms peaking in December and January. Reduced sunlight exposure disrupts your circadian rhythm by weakening the signal that tells your brain it's daytime. This can delay melatonin production timing, making you feel sleepy earlier in the evening but making it harder to wake in the morning. Lower serotonin levels associated with reduced light exposure also correlate with increased depression and anxiety, which themselves impair sleep. When this seasonal biological vulnerability coincides with holiday stress, the combined effect on sleep quality can be particularly severe, creating what some researchers term a December sleep crisis. Your autonomic nervous system splits into 2 branches: the sympathetic system that activates your stress response, and the parasympathetic system that promotes rest and digestion. Healthy sleep requires a shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance, allowing your heart rate to slow, breathing to deepen, and blood pressure to drop. Holiday stress keeps your sympathetic system chronically activated, maintaining a state called hyperarousal that's fundamentally incompatible with sleep initiation. Your heart rhythm reveals your stress state through subtle variations in the time between beats. Stressed individuals show patterns indicating their nervous system remains in alert mode even when lying quietly in bed, with their body's relaxation signals suppressed by ongoing vigilance responses. Childhood holiday memories create powerful emotional associations that can resurface each year, influencing present-day stress responses in ways you might not consciously recognize. If holidays in your childhood were magical and joyful, you might feel pressure to recreate that experience for others. If holidays involved family conflict, your body may respond to December with anticipatory stress, even before current problems arise. Neuroscience research shows that emotional memories encoded during childhood remain particularly vivid and influential throughout life, because your amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, was developing rapidly during those years. The smell of pine, certain songs, specific foods, or even the angle of winter light can trigger the emotions attached to childhood holidays, adding layers of complex feeling to present-day stress. The cognitive load of holiday planning and execution occupies significant mental bandwidth, even during sleep attempts. Your working memory, the mental scratchpad that holds information you're actively processing, has limited capacity. When it's filled with holiday to-do lists, gift ideas, recipe steps, scheduling complexities, and social obligations, there's insufficient room left for the mental relaxation necessary for sleep. Research on pre-sleep cognitive arousal shows that people who report their minds racing with thoughts take an average of 22 minutes longer to fall asleep than those with quiet minds. The mental work of the holidays doesn't clock out when you lie down. Your brain continues processing problems, planning solutions, and rehearsing scenarios, maintaining a level of activation incompatible with sleep initiation. Electronic device use escalates during holidays as people coordinate plans, share photos, shop online, and stay connected with distant family members. About 31.6% of people report using electronic devices for more than 4 hours daily during holidays. The blue light emitted by screens suppresses melatonin production more effectively than any other light wavelength, because your circadian system evolved to use blue light as the primary signal for daytime. Looking at your phone while lying in bed, checking tomorrow's weather, scrolling through holiday photos, or reading gift reviews sends a biological signal to your brain that it's midday, suppressing melatonin and delaying sleep onset by 30 to 60 minutes. Each night, you unknowingly fight against your own biology to reach the sleep you need. Gift-giving anxiety activates specific social and emotional brain circuits that can persist through sleep attempts. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex, involved in valuing decisions and social reward, shows heightened activity when people consider whether their gifts will please recipients. This creates what researchers call empathic prediction stress, worrying about others' future emotional reactions. Will your sister like the sweater? Did you spend enough on your son's gift to show how much you care? Is your secret Santa gift too impersonal? These questions don't simply exist during shopping trips. They loop through your mind during the quiet hours when you're trying to sleep, keeping social emotional processing circuits active when they should be quieting, maintaining a level of concern incompatible with rest. The contrast between holiday ideal and holiday reality creates cognitive dissonance, holding two conflicting beliefs simultaneously that generates unique psychological stress. You believe holidays should be peaceful and joyful, yet you're experiencing chaos and anxiety. This mismatch quietly draws mental energy as your mind works to resolve the contradiction. Research on cognitive dissonance shows it activates areas of the brain associated with conflict detection and error monitoring, maintaining alertness as your mind tries to reconcile the problem. At night, when external distractions fade, this internal conflict becomes more noticeable. Your brain essentially keeps working on the unsolvable question: why aren't I feeling what I'm supposed to feel? Why isn't this matching my expectations? The attempt to solve this keeps you awake. Perfectionism intensifies during holidays, when social comparison, and evaluation opportunities multiply. Seeing others' seemingly perfect holiday celebrations on social media, comparing your decorations to your neighbors, or worrying about how your family gathering will measure up to your cousin's elaborate party, all activate social comparison circuits in your brain. Research shows that people high in perfectionism have elevated baseline cortisol levels and stronger stress responses to potential failure or judgment. When perfectionism meets holidays, a period of multiple high-stakes social performances, the combination creates severe sleep disruption. Your brain rehearses potential problems, plans for contingencies, and worries about judgments that might occur, maintaining a vigilant state that prevents the letting go necessary for sleep to arrive. Understanding how holiday stress disrupts your sleep represents the first step toward breaking the cycle. These first 25 facts have explored the biological cascade, from HPA axis activation to cortisol elevation to circadian disruption, alongside the psychological and social factors that compound during December. The mechanisms aren't separate problems, but interlocking systems, each influencing the others in complex ways. Your stress affects your sleep, which increases your stress sensitivity, which further disrupts sleep, while social demands, financial pressure, emotional expectations, and biological vulnerabilities all feed this central loop. Recent research reveals that awareness of these mechanisms itself can reduce their power, a phenomenon called metacognitive insight. Simply knowing why you can't sleep diminishes the secondary anxiety about sleeplessness, creating a small opening, a crack in the cycle, through which rest might gently enter. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside, trillions of organisms working in silence, heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing. Now we continue. The evidence for how stress steals sleep extends beyond cortisol, to include a network of neurotransmitters that collectively determine whether your brain permits sleep. Norepinephrine, often called noradrenaline, functions as a wake-promoting chemical. Stress elevates norepinephrine levels through activation of your locus coeruleus, a small cluster of neurons in your brainstem. This structure acts like a vigilance center, scanning for threats. During holiday stress, your locus coeruleus maintains higher activity levels even during sleep attempts, releasing enough norepinephrine to keep your brain in a semi-alert state. You feel exhausted, yet your neurochemistry maintains a low-level alarm state that prevents deep sleep from fully taking hold. GABA, or gamma-aminobutyric acid, serves as your brain's primary calming neurotransmitter, quieting neural activity to permit sleep. Stress depletes GABA levels through multiple pathways. Elevated cortisol interferes with GABA receptor function, making remaining GABA less effective. Chronic stress also reduces GABA production in your hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. Recent studies from 2024 and 2025 show that people experiencing high stress have significantly lower peripheral blood GABA concentrations, and animal research demonstrates that sleep-deprived monkeys show substantial decreases in GABA alongside increases in stress hormones. Without sufficient GABA activity, your brain cannot achieve the neural quieting necessary for sleep initiation, regardless of how tired your body feels. Sleep architecture, the structure of sleep stages throughout the night, becomes severely disrupted during stressful periods like holidays. A healthy night includes multiple cycles through non-REM and REM stages, each serving different restoration purposes. Stress particularly impacts slow-wave sleep, the deepest non-REM stage where physical restoration and immune function occur most intensely. Studies using EEG monitoring show that stress reduces time spent in slow-wave sleep, the deepest restoration stage, by approximately 1/4, which explains why you can sleep for 8 hours during holidays, yet wake feeling unrefreshed. Your sleep becomes lighter, more fragmented, easier to disrupt by small sounds or movements. This architectural degradation means the sleep you manage to get provides less of the restoration you desperately need, perpetuating exhaustion despite spending adequate time in bed. The concept of sleep reactivity describes individual differences in how sensitive your sleep is to stress. Research published in 2024 identifies sleep reactivity as a stable trait. Some people's sleep remains relatively protected during stress, while others experience severe insomnia from minor stressors. This trait appears partially genetic and partially shaped by early life experiences. People with high sleep reactivity show approximately 50% greater risk of developing insomnia during stressful periods, including holidays. If you're someone whose sleep disappeared every year during holidays, this likely reflects high sleep reactivity rather than personal weakness. Understanding your own sleep reactivity helps set realistic expectations and plan accordingly, perhaps building in extra sleep opportunities before and after high-stress holiday periods. Family dynamics create particular patterns of stress that research shows affect sleep differently than other stress types. Interpersonal stress, tension with family members, unresolved conflicts, or difficult relationship patterns activates brain regions including the anterior insular and anterior cingulate cortex, areas involved in social pain processing. Studies using fMRI show that social rejection lights up the same neural circuits as physical pain. When you lie awake replaying a difficult conversation with your father or anticipating tomorrow's tense interaction with your sibling, you're processing social pain that your brain treats as seriously as a physical injury. This pain keeps your mind alert, searching for solutions or understanding, preventing the mental quieting needed for sleep to emerge naturally and completely. Intergenerational trauma and family patterns can resurface during holiday gatherings, adding historical layers to current stress. Family systems theory suggests that emotional patterns transmit across generations, often unconsciously. Your grandmother's anxiety about hosting perfect holidays might have influenced your mother, who then transmitted that same anxiety to you, creating a multi-generational stress pattern. Epigenetic research reveals that severe stress can even create biological changes, modifications to gene expression, that pass to subsequent generations. When 3 generations gather for holidays, you're potentially experiencing not just your own stress, but echoes of ancestral stress patterns embedded in family dynamics, communication styles, and emotional expectations. This depth of stress reaches far beyond conscious awareness, affecting sleep through channels you might never fully recognize or understand. The bidirectional relationship between anxiety and insomnia becomes particularly evident during holidays. Approximately 50% of people with generalized anxiety disorder report significant sleep disturbances, while chronic insomnia increases anxiety disorder risk by 240%. This creates what clinicians call a reciprocal causation loop. Holiday stress elevates anxiety, which disrupts sleep, which increases anxiety sensitivity the next day, making you more reactive to holiday stressors, which further impairs that night's sleep. Recent 2024 research shows this loop can establish itself in as little as 3 to 4 days of poor sleep, suggesting that one bad week during early December can cascade into a month-long sleep crisis extending through the entire holiday season. Sleep deprivation impairs your prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for emotional regulation, decision-making, and impulse control. After just one night of poor sleep, your amygdala, the emotional processing center, shows notably stronger reactions to negative experiences, with connectivity between amygdala and prefrontal cortex weakening by more than half, reducing your ability to regulate those amplified emotions. During holidays, this creates a vicious pattern. Stress disrupts sleep, which makes you more emotionally reactive to holiday stressors the next day, creating more intense stress responses, which further impairs that night's sleep. What began as manageable holiday pressure can escalate into overwhelming emotional experiences simply through the compounding effect of cumulative sleep loss on your brain's emotional regulation capacity throughout December. Rumination, repetitive thinking about problems without reaching solutions, serves as one of the most powerful predictors of sleep-onset insomnia. During holidays, rumination content often focuses on social concerns, replaying conversations, anticipating conflicts, worrying about judgments. Research using experience sampling shows that pre-sleep rumination extends sleep onset latency by an average of 28 minutes and predicts poorer sleep quality throughout the night. Your brain enters a default mode network pattern characterized by self-referential thought and social cognition processing. While helpful during waking hours for reflection and planning, this network activity during sleep attempts maintains mental arousal incompatible with sleep initiation. Rumination essentially keeps your conscious mind engaged when sleep requires consciousness to fade peacefully into darkness. Temperature regulation plays a crucial role in sleep initiation that holiday activities often disrupt. Your core body temperature must drop about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit for sleep to occur, a decrease facilitated by heat dissipation through your extremities. Holiday gatherings in crowded, warm rooms, heavy meals that increase metabolic heat production, and alcohol consumption that initially causes vasodilation but then disrupts thermoregulation, all interfere with this necessary cooling process. Winter holiday traditions often include warm, cozy environments, fires burning, heating turned up for guests, thermal pajamas that, while comfortable, maintain body temperature at levels slightly too elevated for optimal sleep initiation. Your body struggles to achieve the physiological cooling that signals your brain it's time to transition into sleep. Financial decision-making under stress becomes measurably impaired, creating a feedback loop where holiday shopping decisions you made while exhausted potentially create more financial stress, disrupting future sleep. Sleep deprivation affects your prefrontal cortex's valuation systems, making you more impulsive and less able to delay gratification. Research shows that after 24 hours without sleep, people make riskier financial decisions and are more likely to make purchases they later regret. Even partial sleep restriction, getting 5 to 6 hours instead of 7 to 8, impairs financial decision-making. During holiday shopping sprees conducted while sleep-deprived from previous night's stress, you're neurologically predisposed to make purchases that will cause more financial stress, perpetuating the cycle. Dietary changes during holidays affect sleep through multiple biochemical pathways. High glycemic foods, cookies, cakes, white bread stuffing, cause rapid blood sugar spikes followed by crashes that can trigger cortisol release. Rich, fatty meals delay gastric emptying, keeping your digestive system active for hours after eating. Tyramine, found in aged cheeses common at holiday parties, can stimulate norepinephrine release. Caffeine from chocolate desserts or after-dinner coffee has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours, meaning half the caffeine from a 4 p.m. dessert remains in your system at 10 p.m. Even seemingly innocent holiday treats contain compounds that maintain physiological arousal. Your body metabolizes the season's indulgences when it should be settling into rest, creating internal activity incompatible with deep, restorative sleep. Social jet lag describes the discrepancy between your biological sleep timing and your actual sleep schedule, which holidays severely exacerbate. Most people have a natural chronotype, Whether you're naturally a morning person or night person depends on genetic variations in your circadian clock genes. Holiday schedules often force everyone onto the same timeline, regardless of chronotype. Early morning gift opening, midday dinners, evening parties. When your schedule conflicts with your biology, you experience something similar to crossing time zones without traveling. Research shows social jet lag increases inflammation markers, elevates cortisol, and impairs glucose metabolism. During holidays, chronic social jet lag, weeks of sleeping and waking at times misaligned with your natural rhythm, compounds other stress effects, making every night's sleep feel inadequate. Immune system function declines during periods of stress and poor sleep, creating vulnerability to illness precisely when you're most exposed to pathogens through holiday gatherings. Your immune system operates on a circadian rhythm, with different components most active during sleep. Natural killer cells, T cells, and cytokine production all follow patterns tied to sleep-wake cycles. When stress disrupts sleep, immune surveillance weakens by 20 to 40%. Holiday travel through airports, time in crowded stores, and gatherings with family members who may be carrying viruses all increase pathogen exposure. The combination of increased exposure and decreased immune function explains why so many people get sick during or immediately after holidays. Illness then further disrupts sleep through symptoms and immune responses, adding another layer to the cycle of stress and sleeplessness. The evidence is clear. Holiday stress doesn't just correlate with poor sleep. It creates multiple, reinforcing pathways that actively steal rest from your nights. From HPA axis activation to neurotransmitter imbalances, from circadian disruption to temperature dysregulation, from cognitive overload to emotional hyperarousal, the mechanisms pile upon each other. What makes holiday sleep loss particularly insidious is the cumulative nature of these effects. Each night of poor sleep makes you more vulnerable to the next day's stressors, which ensures that night's sleep will be even worse. By understanding these interconnected mechanisms, you gain something powerful. Knowledge that this isn't your fault, isn't a personal failing, but a predictable biological and psychological response to specific conditions. Understanding creates distance from self-blame, opening space where rest might tentatively enter. You're still here with me, thoughts still flickering like candle light. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your mind is. We're exploring consciousness itself, the very thing doing the exploring right now. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. Let's drift onward together. Evolution shaped your stress response over millions of years to handle acute threats, escaping predators, surviving harsh winters, navigating social hierarchies in small groups. Your HPA axis evolved for challenges that resolved quickly. Run from the lion. The threat passes. Cortisol returns to baseline. Holiday stress violates this design by creating chronic activation without resolution. The family tension doesn't resolve after one conversation. Financial pressure extends throughout December. Social obligations compound rather than resolve. Your ancient stress system, designed for sprints, is instead running a marathon, maintaining elevated arousal for weeks. This mismatch between evolutionary design and modern experience explains why holiday stress feels so exhausting. You're using emergency systems continuously, depleting resources never meant for sustained activation. Your sleep-wake system evolved to respond to natural light cycles and seasonal changes, with winter naturally bringing longer rest periods. Modern holidays invert this biological expectation. Instead of retreating and conserving energy as winter deepens, you're forced into heightened social activity, late nights, and increased metabolic demands. This contradiction between what your body expects, which is hibernation mode, and what holidays demand, which is celebration mode, creates physiological confusion particularly in systems governing sleep timing and depth. Your internal clocks receive contradictory signals. Darkness says rest, but your schedule says celebrate. Activity says daytime, but the calendar says winter solstice. This biological confusion disrupts the clear environmental cues your sleep system relies upon. The pressure for holiday experiences to create perfect memories adds unique psychological weight. Memory formation depends partly on emotional intensity. We remember emotionally significant events more vividly than mundane ones. Knowing you'll remember this holiday creates pressure for it to be worth remembering, which itself becomes a source of stress. You're not just living the moment, you're consciously creating future memories, which divides attention between experiencing and archiving. This meta-awareness, thinking about how you'll think about this moment, prevents full immersion in present experience. At night, your mind reviews the day not just as events but as potential memories, evaluating whether experiences met the standard of memory worthy, adding another layer of processing that keeps consciousness engaged when it should be drifting towards sleep. Children's excitement during holidays, while joyful, creates ambient stress for adults responsible for managing that excitement. Young children's developing prefrontal cortexes provide limited emotional regulation, meaning their anticipation, joy, disappointment, and overwhelm express at full volume. As an adult, parent, aunt, uncle, or host, you serve as external regulation for their emotional states, continuously monitoring, adjusting, soothing, and directing. This emotional labor requires constant attention and engages your own stress responses. Research on parental stress shows that managing children's emotions activates similar neural circuits as experiencing those emotions directly. You essentially feel your children's holiday intensity on top of your own. At night, even after children sleep, your nervous system remains in management mode, alert for needs or problems, preventing full relaxation. The commercialization of holidays creates a specific type of stress through the amplification of expectations via advertising. You're exposed to thousands of messages suggesting how holidays should look, what you should buy, how you should feel, what constitutes success or failure. These external standards replace internal, personal definitions of meaningful celebration. Marketing research shows that advertising creates idealized schemas, mental templates of perfection, that real experiences can never match. When your actual holiday doesn't resemble the television commercial family or the Instagram perfect celebration, the discrepancy creates distress. This comparison stress operates continuously in background awareness, a quiet voice noting all the ways your reality falls short, maintaining vigilance about inadequacy that prevents the acceptance and contentment necessary for peaceful sleep. Cultural and religious differences in how holidays are celebrated or observed can create tension in multicultural families or relationships, adding complex layers to seasonal stress. When partners come from different traditions, decisions about which holidays to celebrate, how to celebrate them, where to spend time, and what values to emphasize can trigger conflicts that touch on identity, family loyalty, and cultural belonging. These aren't simple logistical disagreements, but fundamental questions about meaning, belonging, and family. Even when resolved during waking hours, such deep questions can surface during sleep attempts, as your mind continues processing identity and relationship themes. The negotiation of cultural and religious differences during holidays engages not just practical planning, but core aspects of self, keeping deeper mental processes active when sleep requires quieting. Grief intensifies during holidays, particularly for those who've lost loved ones recently or are separated from family members by distance, circumstance, or estrangement. The juxtaposition of cultural messages about family togetherness against the reality of absence creates what psychologists call ambiguous loss. Grief for something lost but still somehow present in memory and tradition. Grief affects sleep through multiple mechanisms: elevated inflammatory markers, disrupted circadian rhythms, and activation of attachment system neurocircuits that scan for the absent person. During holidays, when reminders are everywhere, empty chairs, familiar songs, traditional activities now performed without someone, grief becomes particularly acute, manifesting at night as both emotional pain and biological arousal that prevent rest. The psychological concept of should statements, rigid internal rules about how things ought to be, proliferates during holidays. You should be happy, your children should be grateful, family should get along, dinner should be perfect, the house should be decorated. These cognitive distortions, as cognitive behavioral therapy terms them, create stress by demanding reality conform to internal rules that may be unrealistic or impossible. Each should represents a standard you or others might fail to meet, creating anticipatory anxiety about potential failure and disappointment when reality inevitably varies from the rule. At night, your mind reviews the day's shoulds and evaluates performance, finding deficits and planning corrections, maintaining an evaluative consciousness incompatible with the acceptance necessary for sleep to arrive gently. Decision fatigue accumulates during holidays as you make hundreds of micro-decisions daily: which gifts to buy, what to cook, who to invite, what to wear, how to respond to this email, whether to attend that party. Each decision depletes your mental resources slightly. By evening, after a day of continuous decision-making, your prefrontal cortex shows measurably reduced activity, and your ability to regulate emotions and impulses diminishes significantly. Research shows that decision fatigue increases cortisol levels and makes you more susceptible to stress. At night, your exhausted mind often continues the decision-making process, ruminating on whether you made correct choices and anticipating tomorrow's decisions. The mental fatigue that should facilitate sleep instead creates a restless mental churning as your brain tries to resolve unfinished decisions. Halfway through our gentle journey, certain patterns emerge clearly. Holiday stress steals sleep not through a single mechanism but through cascading, interconnected systems. Each factor we've explored, biological, psychological, social, emotional, amplifies the others. Stress hormones disrupt sleep, which increases stress sensitivity, which generates more stress hormones. Social obligations create cognitive load, which prevents mental quieting, which sustains social anxiety. Financial pressure activates threat responses, which impair decision-making, which creates more financial problems. The beauty of understanding these connections is that intervention at any point can potentially interrupt the entire cascade. Breaking one link in the chain, even one small change in how you respond to holiday pressure, might weaken the whole cycle, creating an opening where rest could gradually, tentatively, peacefully return to your nights. Let each breath guide you to realize, time is yours, a separate stream that only you are living, while the vast universe continues to spin, expand, change. This second you're breathing, listening, is unique. Cherish the present moment, knowing that right now, your time is unique in the universe. And we continue drifting. Understanding your personal relationship with stress begins with noticing physical sensations before they escalate into full arousal. Your body signals stress through subtle cues: tension in your jaw, tightness in your chest, shallow breathing, restless hands. These early warnings offer opportunities for intervention before the stress cascade fully activates. Mindfulness research from 2024 shows that people who notice stress signals early can reduce their HPA axis response by 30 to 40% through simple awareness. During holidays, developing this inner radar for stress helps you respond rather than react, creating tiny moments of choice between automatic stress patterns and conscious relaxation. Small awareness creates space. Your breath offers a direct pathway to influence your nervous system, accessible anytime stress threatens sleep. When stressed, breathing becomes shallow and rapid, centered in your chest. Deliberately slowing your breath, particularly extending exhalations longer than inhalations, activates your parasympathetic nervous system within seconds. Research shows that breathing at approximately 5 breaths per minute triggers what's called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, naturally slowing heart rate and reducing cortisol. This physiological shift tells your brain safety has returned, interrupting stress responses. Your breath becomes a tool, always available, requiring no equipment, capable of creating calm. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, called CBT-1, represents the most effective treatment for stress-related sleep problems, with success rates exceeding 70% according to recent studies. Unlike sleeping pills, which only mask symptoms temporarily, CBT-I addresses underlying patterns maintaining insomnia, unhelpful thoughts about sleep, maladaptive behaviors, and stress responses. During holidays, applying just a few CBT-I principles can help significantly. Maintaining consistent wake times, even after poor sleep, strengthens your circadian rhythm. Creating a wind-down routine signals your brain that sleep approaches. These structured approaches provide stability when everything else feels chaotic. Progressive muscle relaxation involves systematically tensing and releasing muscle groups, teaching your body the difference between tension and relaxation. During holidays, when stress creates chronic muscle tightness you might not even notice, this practice becomes particularly valuable. Starting with your toes and moving upward, feet, calves, thighs, abdomen, chest, arms, hands, neck, face, you deliberately create, then release tension. This physical practice sends powerful signals to your nervous system. Tension is releasing, safety is present, sleep can approach. Your body learns what true relaxation feels like. The concept of stimulus control in sleep therapy suggests your bedroom should become strongly associated with sleep, not with stress or wakefulness. During holidays, when you bring holiday planning, gift wrapping, or family conflicts into your sleeping space, you weaken this association. Your brain begins linking your bedroom with arousal rather than rest. Maintaining boundaries, keeping holiday stress outside your sleeping space, using your bed only for sleep, strengthens the psychological connection between your bedroom and rest. This environmental psychology creates automatic relaxation responses when you enter your sleeping space. Gratitude practices, when approached genuinely rather than as another should, can reduce stress hormones and improve sleep quality. Simple reflection on what felt genuinely good during the day, a kind interaction, a moment of peace, a small success, activates reward pathways in your brain and reduces amygdala reactivity. This isn't about forcing positive thinking or denying difficulties, but about gently directing attention toward nourishing aspects of experience. During holidays, brief, authentic gratitude can provide counterbalance to stress, creating islands of calm. Setting boundaries during holidays protects your sleep by limiting stress exposure. Saying no to some invitations, leaving parties earlier than others, limiting gift expenses to what you can afford, or declining to host this year, these aren't failures, but acts of self-care. Research shows that people who maintain firm boundaries during holidays report better sleep quality and lower stress levels than those who try to accommodate every request. Your rest matters more than others' expectations. Boundaries create the space protection your sleep system needs to function properly. The worry window technique involves scheduling a specific time each day, ideally afternoon, not evening, to process worries and plan solutions. During holidays, when concerns multiply, this practice prevents worries from invading sleep time. You acknowledge worries during waking hours. Make whatever plans you can, then consciously set them aside until the next worry window. This trains your brain that night isn't problem-solving time. Your mind learns to postpone processing, trusting that concerns will receive attention at appropriate times. Nature exposure, even brief periods, reduces cortisol levels and improves sleep quality. During holidays, when much time occurs indoors at parties, in stores, or traveling, intentional time outside becomes particularly valuable. Morning sunlight exposure strengthens circadian rhythms. Evening walks in cooler air facilitate the temperature drop necessary for sleep. Even looking at trees or sky through windows provides benefits. Your nervous system evolved in natural environments. Brief returns to those environments during holiday chaos offer restoration that indoor celebrations cannot provide. Social support buffers stress effects, but only when relationships feel genuinely supportive rather than obligatory. During holidays, choosing time with people who truly nourish you, rather than feeling obligated to attend every gathering, protects your well-being. Research shows that quality of social connection matters far more than quantity. One dinner with dear friends who accept you completely provides more stress reduction than 5 parties where you feel you must perform. Choose connection over obligation when possible. Acceptance and commitment therapy emphasizes accepting difficult emotions rather than fighting them. During holidays, accepting that you feel stressed, tired, or ambivalent, rather than judging yourself for these feelings, reduces secondary stress. The stress itself becomes less problematic than the stress about feeling stressed. When you stop demanding that you feel differently, energy previously spent fighting your experience becomes available for rest. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up, but rather stopping the exhausting battle with reality. The practice of temporal distancing, reminding yourself that this stressful period is temporary, reduces immediate stress responses. Holidays have endings, January arrives, normal routines resume. Reminding yourself during peak stress that this intensity won't last forever helps maintain perspective. Research shows that people who maintain temporal perspective during stressful periods show lower cortisol elevations and better sleep maintenance. Your current exhaustion and stress have beginnings and endings. They aren't permanent states, even when they feel endless. Physical exercise, particularly earlier in the day, significantly improves sleep quality even during stressful periods. Movement metabolizes stress hormones, reduces muscle tension, and strengthens circadian rhythms. During holidays, when schedules disrupt exercise routines, maintaining some physical activity protects sleep. Even brief walks, gentle stretching, or dancing to holiday music provides benefits. Your body needs movement to process the physiological activation stress creates. Movement transforms stress chemistry into something that doesn't interfere with sleep. Limiting alcohol intake, despite social pressure during holiday celebrations, dramatically improves sleep quality. While one drink might not significantly impair sleep, multiple drinks guarantee poor sleep architecture and early morning waking. Choosing non-alcoholic beverages at some gatherings, alternating alcoholic drinks with water, or setting personal limits protects your rest. The temporary social lubrication alcohol provides costs you deeply in sleep quality. Your rest is worth protecting, even when others drink freely. Creating mini rituals that signal transition from day to evening helps your brain recognize when rest should begin. Changing clothes, dimming lights, brewing herbal tea, listening to quiet music. These small acts become psychological markers. During holidays, when evening activities often extend late, maintaining at least brief transition rituals preserves sleep signals. Even 10 minutes of intentional wind down creates necessary space between activity and sleep. Your brain needs transition time, gentle bridges between celebration and rest. The practice of sleep restriction therapy sounds counterintuitive, but effectively consolidates fragmented sleep. If you're spending 9 hours in bed but only sleeping 6, restricting bedtime to match actual sleep time increases sleep pressure and reduces time spent awake in bed. This temporarily creates more sleepiness but ultimately improves sleep efficiency. During holidays, if sleep becomes severely fragmented, brief restriction can help reset patterns. Consult sleep professionals for guidance on this technique. Magnesium, an essential mineral involved in hundreds of biochemical processes, supports sleep through multiple mechanisms. It regulates GABA receptors, reduces cortisol, and relaxes muscles. Many people have insufficient magnesium intake, particularly during holidays when diet changes. Supplementation, or eating magnesium-rich foods, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, whole grains, may improve sleep quality. While not a cure for holiday stress, adequate magnesium provides biochemical support for sleep systems under pressure. The 4-7-8 breathing technique provides a quick intervention when stress threatens sleep. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, exhale for 8 counts. This pattern activates your parasympathetic nervous system, slows heart rate, and reduces cortisol. During holiday nights when you lie awake with racing thoughts, this breathing pattern offers immediate physiological intervention. 4 cycles usually produce noticeable calming. Your breath becomes an emergency brake for your stress system, available anytime anxiety threatens to steal sleep. Visualization of peaceful places, a quiet beach, a forest path, a mountain meadow, engages imagination in ways that reduce stress activation. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagined and real sensory experiences. Imagining peaceful environments creates similar neural patterns as actually being there. During holidays, when you can't escape to actual peaceful places, mental visualization provides portable sanctuary. Your imagination becomes a tool for creating internal environments that support rest. The practice of noting from mindfulness meditation involves simply labeling experiences without elaborating, thinking, worrying, planning, remembering. This creates distance between you and your mental activity. During holiday nights when thoughts spiral, noting interrupts identification with thoughts. You're not your thoughts, but the awareness observing them. This subtle shift reduces the urgency thoughts carry, allowing them to pass more easily. Mental noting creates spaciousness where rest can enter. Weighted blankets provide deep pressure stimulation that activates your parasympathetic nervous system, similar to being hugged. Research shows weighted blankets reduce cortisol, increase serotonin and melatonin, and improve sleep quality. During holidays, when stress keeps your nervous system activated, the gentle pressure of weighted blankets provides continuous calming input. The physical weight signals safety to your primitive brain, countering vigilance responses. This simple intervention offers comfort without requiring mental effort. Self-compassion, treating yourself with the kindness you'd offer a good friend, reduces stress more effectively than self-criticism. When you struggle with sleep during holidays, harsh self-judgment adds secondary stress. Speaking to yourself gently, acknowledging that holiday stress is difficult for many people, reduces cortisol and promotes relaxation. Your internal dialogue shapes your stress biology. Kindness toward yourself creates biochemical conditions more conducive to rest than criticism ever could. The understanding that perfection is neither necessary nor possible liberates significant energy previously spent pursuing impossible standards. Your holiday doesn't need to match idealized images. Your celebration can be imperfect, simple, or unconventional and still be meaningful. Releasing perfectionism reduces the pressure, maintaining your stress arousal, When you accept good enough, your nervous system receives permission to relax. Imperfection becomes not just acceptable, but liberating, creating space where rest was previously blocked by striving. The recognition that others are also struggling, also tired, also stressed during holidays, creates connection rather than isolation. You're not uniquely failing. Millions of people experience holiday stress and sleep disruption. This shared human experience, when acknowledged, reduces the shame that compounds suffering. Your difficulty sleeping during stressful times reflects normal biological responses, not personal inadequacy. Understanding this normalizes your experience, reducing the secondary anxiety that makes sleep even more elusive. The wisdom emerging through these facts suggests something profound. You cannot force sleep any more than you can force happiness, love, or peace. Sleep arrives when conditions become right, when your body feels safe, when your mind grows quiet, when you release control rather than tightening it. Holiday stress steals sleep, partly through the very effort to capture it. The desperate need for rest creates performance anxiety about sleeping, which generates arousal that prevents rest. Perhaps the deepest truth: sleep comes when you stop chasing it, allowing it to find you instead. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles. Like your breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. A small cycle within the vast universe. You are also part of that eternal movement. You don't need to hold on to anything. Let everything unfold in its perfect order. Unhurried, unresisting, simply existing. We're almost there now. The stars witness your struggle with sleep. Ancient light reaching across space to touch your windows. They burned billions of years ago, their light traveling while species evolved. Civilizations rose and fell, and here you are now, receiving photons that began their journey before humans existed. Your sleeplessness feels eternal in the moment, yet it's smaller than a breath in cosmic time. Even the longest night eventually surrenders to dawn. Everything passes, including difficulty sleeping. Water knows how to rest, finding stillness after motion, settling into quiet pools after rushing over stones. Lakes sleep in winter, surfaces freezing into peaceful glass. Even oceans have moments of calm, waves gentling into swells, swells softening into ripples. Your restless mind might learn from water how to transition from turbulence to tranquility, allowing movement to gradually slow, accepting stillness when it arrives. Animals don't worry about sleep. They rest when tired, wake when rested, following simple biological signals without judgment or anxiety. A cat doesn't lie awake wondering if it will sleep well. It simply closes its eyes when drowsy. Perhaps human sleep problems partly stem from thinking too much about sleep, creating complexity where simplicity would serve better. Your heart has beaten continuously since before you were born, never needing your permission or conscious control. It knows how to slow for sleep, how to quicken for waking, responding to signals from deep within your biology. Trust that the same autonomic wisdom that keeps your heart beating also knows how to guide you into sleep when conditions allow. Perhaps the holiday stress that steals your sleep also teaches something valuable about human vulnerability. We cannot control everything. We cannot be perfect. We cannot make everyone happy. Accepting these limits doesn't mean failing. It means being human. The exhaustion you feel from trying to do everything perfectly might itself be the invitation to practice acceptance, to release impossible standards, to discover that rest comes through letting go. Clouds drift without effort, shaped by winds they don't control, changing form moment by moment without resistance. They don't hold their shape against change or demand to remain as they were. Eventually, they dissolve completely into air, becoming invisible again. Your thoughts might move like clouds, appearing, changing, dissolving, none of them permanent. Seeds rest in darkness before they grow, months of dormancy preparing for spring's emergence. This resting time isn't wasted or failed time, but necessary preparation. Perhaps human beings also need seasons of rest, periods of withdrawal and quieting, before new growth becomes possible. Winter darkness serves purposes, even when it feels uncomfortable or endless. The earth spins steadily whether you sleep or wake, continuing its ancient rotation regardless of your state of consciousness. Mountains stand through your wakeful nights. Forests breathe in darkness. Rivers flow while you toss and turn. The world continues its patterns independent of your sleep struggles, which somehow makes those struggles feel less central, less catastrophic. Silence exists beneath all sound, a background of quiet that persists even during noise. When holiday chaos fills your ears, that underlying silence remains, accessible when you listen deeply enough. At night, when thoughts seem loud, perhaps that same deep silence waits beneath them, patient and available, ready to welcome consciousness as it finally releases into rest. Consider how trees sleep through winter, metabolism slowing, growth pausing, resources conserved. They don't apologize for dormancy or fight against natural rhythms. Perhaps human rest requires similar wisdom, honoring seasons of withdrawal, accepting when your system needs quieting, trusting that spring returns after every winter, that rest restores what activity depletes. Sleep is not weakness, but the foundation of all strength. Moths navigate by moonlight, their ancient guidance system, confused by artificial lights that didn't exist when their instincts evolved. Modern humans experience similar disorientation, evolutionary systems encountering conditions they weren't designed for. Understanding this mismatch creates compassion for the difficulty. You're not broken for struggling. You're navigating a world vastly different from the one your biology expects. Rain doesn't apologize for falling, doesn't worry whether it's enough or too much, simply follows gravity's pull toward Earth. Wind doesn't plan its direction but moves where pressure gradients guide. Natural processes happen without self-judgment or performance anxiety. Perhaps rest works similarly, arriving when you stop demanding it and simply allow. Your breathing continues even when you forget about it, automatic and reliable, requiring no conscious management. This autonomic reliability extends to sleep systems as well. The mechanisms that create sleep still function within you, waiting for conditions that permit their activation. Your job isn't to make sleep happen, but to create conditions where it can. Darkness holds no threat, despite childhood fears that sometimes persist. Darkness is simply the absence of light, neutral, and actually necessary for proper melatonin production. The dark hours when you lie awake aren't enemies but the natural time for rest, offering quiet and privacy impossible during daylight. Perhaps befriending darkness, accepting rather than fighting it, changes the relationship. So could holiday stress steal sleep? It already has, for millions of people, through mechanisms now laid before you like a map of difficult terrain. But understanding reveals pathways through. Awareness itself begins healing. Knowledge creates power where helplessness lived. The stress may remain, but your relationship to it can shift, softening, opening space where rest might gently arrive. Leaves release from branches in autumn without clinging or resisting, trusting that release serves purposes. The tree doesn't mourn each falling leaf but conserves energy for winter, preparing for spring's new growth. Perhaps worry and tension could release similarly, your mind letting go of what it's been holding, trusting that release serves rest's arrival. Horizons appear as boundaries but aren't actual edges, just the limit of current vision. Beyond every horizon lies more earth, more sky, more continuation. Your current difficulty sleeping feels like a boundary but isn't permanent or final. Beyond this challenging period lies rest, recovery, mornings when you'll wake refreshed. The horizon always moves as you approach. Every breath you take exchanges molecules with the atmosphere, particles that were once part of ancient forests, distant oceans, other creatures' exhalations. You're constantly exchanging substance with the world, nothing truly separate or isolated. This fundamental connection persists even in difficulty. You're held within systems larger than stress, older than holidays, more reliable than any single night's sleep. Moss grows slowly and steadily, covering stones one microscopic layer at a time, transforming rock through patient accumulation. Quick, dramatic changes aren't the only kind. Slow, gentle shifts also create transformation. Your sleep might improve gradually, through small changes accumulating, rather than sudden, complete resolution. Gradual healing still reaches wholeness. Water finds its level without effort, flowing downward through least resistance. Rain doesn't push itself toward ocean. Gravity and geography guide its inevitable journey. Perhaps sleep works similarly, not something you achieve through force, but something you allow through acceptance, creating conditions where rest becomes possible, then stepping aside, letting natural processes carry consciousness from waking to dreaming to the deep rest beyond. The question asked by this video's title, "Why does holiday stress steal sleep?" has been answered through 100 gentle facts. The mechanisms are real, predictable, scientific, but the answer also holds hope. Understanding breaks the cycle. What you understand, you can work with. What you meet with compassion begins softening. Knowledge transforms victimhood into agency. Perhaps the greatest discovery in exploring holiday stress and sleep is this: you're not alone in struggling, not unique in your difficulty, not failing because rest feels elusive during this season. Millions of others lie awake these same nights, their HPA axes activated by similar stresses, their sleep architecture similarly disrupted. This shared experience creates an invisible community of insomniacs, connected through common difficulty. And maybe that connection itself offers comfort, knowing that as you lie awake, others lie awake too. All of you navigating the gap between exhaustion and sleep. You're experiencing human biological responses to challenging conditions, not failing, not broken, simply human, with human vulnerabilities, during a season that challenges those vulnerabilities. Every fact shared tonight aimed toward one purpose: helping you understand why rest feels difficult during holidays, removing self-blame, offering both knowledge and permission. Understanding the biology doesn't instantly fix sleep, but it changes the experience. You now know why, which transforms the struggle from mysterious failure to comprehensible challenge. And challenges, unlike mysteries, can be addressed. The real change isn't in holidays. They'll always carry stress, expectations, complications. The change is in you, understanding how your beautiful, complex system responds to seasonal pressure, recognizing patterns without judgment, meeting sleeplessness with compassion rather than frustration. You are not broken for feeling stressed or struggling to sleep. You are human, navigating a season designed to challenge the very systems that normally keep you balanced. This awareness itself is the beginning of peace. And so, our quiet journey through holiday stress and sleep comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the chemistry of cortisol and the cascade of stress hormones to the wisdom of acceptance and the peace found in releasing control, discovering along the way that stress steals sleep through predictable patterns that can be understood, anticipated, and gradually softened. From crowded holiday gatherings to silent winter nights, we've glimpsed how your system responds to seasonal pressure with ancient reflexes meant for different dangers. creating the paradox of exhausted wakefulness. Holiday stress reminds us that human nervous systems evolved for smaller worlds, quieter celebrations, simpler expectations. Much of the healing happens in stillness, in moments between obligations, in the brave act of saying enough. These pressures teach us that rest isn't earned through perfection, it's claimed through permission, through choosing peace over performance. Without this understanding, we suffer alone, blaming ourselves for biological responses we never chose. By pausing to notice, we glimpse the path from stress to peace. And now, in these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can manage, as deep as possible. Think about consciousness itself, yours, mine, everyone listening at this moment, all awareness everywhere throughout time. Perhaps all minds connect in ways science hasn't yet discovered. Perhaps your thoughts right now ripple through invisible networks, linking every sleeping person across the earth. You are not alone in the universe of consciousness. Let your entire being dissolve into that vast ocean of awareness, into dreamless rest, into the peaceful space that exists before thought begins, where all separation fades and only gentle darkness remains. Prepare for deep sleep. If this thoughtful exploration of the mind made you feel less alone, whisper it forward to someone awake tonight. It may bring comfort to one more wandering consciousness. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, farther than most journeys take you. You can allow these thoughts of stress and sleep to fade now, like snow melting on warm ground, leaving only the calm earth behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if gravity itself has become kinder, gently pressing you into comfortable rest. If sleep comes, let it carry you like water finding its level, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where stress and time no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, stress will still exist. Holidays will still carry their complex weight. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, peaceful mind. And remember, your struggle to sleep during holidays isn't personal failure, but shared human experience. Dream deeper with Bedtime Science. Good night.